All right, guys, we are here. Hope all is well. Sorry for my low energy. Just really sleepy today. Didn't sleep that well, but we push through for things that are important. And I'm always up for an important conversation because you never know who you can help out there, whether it's the guest, the host, or any of y'all who listen. Because somebody out there needs to hear just a good conversation that makes you think and makes you feel some things. I think that's one of the biggest problems in the world these days is we don't listen to each other. We don't communicate enough. We don't try to put ourselves in other people's shoes. And conversations like these are what can help change stuff like that. Because just listening to somebody, even if it's not your story, even if you can't entirely relate, you can just try to understand. And anyway, so just a quick little thought. But yeah, sweetheart, would you like to tell us your name and a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, hi. Um, I'm Linda Knipe. I write under the name L. Feig Knipe, and um, I have a book that I wrote called Braving Therapy. Um, the subtitle is Rape, Buried Trauma, and the Triumphant Journey Over PTSD. I have a background in counselor education. I was a school counselor, and I uh, I really got involved in um, looking at the importance of therapy when I was in my graduate program, and it was because I wanted to work in schools. And I was in a counselor education program. But when I was in my first class, I was triggered by a conversation about therapy for rape because I had a rape in my background that I had not dealt with. Um, so it started me down the road of full-blown PTSD. And while I was in my graduate program learning how to be a counselor, I was in therapy as a patient trying to deal with my PTSD and all of the pain that that brought and bringing out all of the pain from everything else in my life that I had buried. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, probably why I'm here talking with you about the pain in life, because uh, I had to I had to learn to deal with it, and I had to, I think, come to the acceptance that it's part of life.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I did the same. I still am to some degree, but mainly I now, like when I talk about these things, it just kind of runs right down my back because it's like I can just say it so a matter of factly and be like, yeah, I was molested, yeah, I was bullied, and all these things have happened, and I deal with it because I've healed properly. I allowed myself to reopen those wounds where I tried to just ignore them and act like they weren't there or, just move on, just like whatever. But the more I did that, the more it fought me and the more I started to blame myself. But you have to reopen those wounds, even though it's going to hurt more. It's really important to take a deeper introspective look and realize, like, okay, like there's more to this. This happened. Okay, why did it happen? And how can I move forward with it? And sometimes it comes down to just forgiving anybody who's ever done you wrong, including the abusers. Not that they deserve
Yeah.
it, but it's just so that you can move forward.
It's interesting when you're talking about having pain because someone has hurt you or wronged you in some way. I was just listening to um, kind of a spiritual person. I can't remember who it was. Excuse me, but it was as we were approaching the new year and talking about starting out with a fresh start. And someone had posed a question um, about do is it important to forgive people who have harmed you? And the the answer, and I loved it, was when people have harmed you, especially people who have done it intentionally, that you find hard to forgive and maybe don't really deserve to be forgiven if they're not repentant. But you can still have mercy.
Yeah.
You can still have mercy on people who are struggling through their own issues of, being cruel.
Mm-hmm.
And you if you can't forgive somebody, that's understandable. But I've also realized for myself that not forgiving and hanging on to things is only harming me, because pretty generally the people who hurt you don't care at that point. So, my forgiveness is not going to matter to anybody else unless they're really repentant, but it does matter to me because it's important to let things go.
Yeah, because to you it might be, it's obviously like everything. It's the worst day of your life or whatever, and to them it's like you're just another person, or it was just a moment, or hell,
Yeah,
they might not even really remember it. They
yeah,
might barely
yeah,
remember you, which makes
yeah,
the
and it's
situation worse because then you're like you have no accountability, and now I've been focusing on this my whole life on the, like, the last
yeah,
my,
exactly.
yeah, and you don't even think about it. Like I figured you would have regret or remorse or something. Nope, you don't even remember me, and all I think about is you.
Yeah, yes, and I think those those situations happen a lot where something that hurts us stays with us for, it can be generations, and the person who wronged us has no idea at all, and possibly didn't even mean it. I have ascribed um, malicious intentions to people, before, because I wouldn't say anything. I would just bury it. And then eventually, if I spoke about it, they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize you thought that way. I didn't mean that at all. And so,
Right.
so when you're keeping things to yourself, you don't have perspective. You only have your own perspective that keeps mulling around in your mind, and it's not doing you any good.
For sure. Yeah. No, it just festers and festers. I always talk about like having this like proverbial like closet where you just keep shoving all your past traumas and everything in there, and then one day you go to throw the next thing in there and now they all spill out on top of you because instead of you
Yeah, that's
dealing with them, they're now all there
yes,
for you to see.
yes, that is exactly how I describe the um, the way that all of those symptoms of PTSD start popping out, is that you shove them away,
Mm-hmm.
and and they eventually will pop out when you're opening that closet door looking for something else, or trying to shove something else in there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's like I know like with me with having my disabilities and just all the things I've been through, there's a lot of labels that get put on you and they get stuck. And sometimes some of those labels you stick onto yourself. Sometimes
Hmm.
one of those labels is you're a victim because you've been
Yeah,
victimized in your life, and you stay in that victimhood mentality, or if a man did you wrong, you'll say all men suck, or you start generalizing and doing all these things, and you're just hurting yourself instead of just opening that wound and really dealing with it properly. Let it heal. Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're probably going to cry again. You're going to relive it, but if you can, you're going to feel so much
yeah,
better, and
yeah,
you're going to realize some of the ways that you thought were very foolish because you're not any of those things. You didn't deserve this. Like it doesn't matter how many times it happened or whatever. Like no person should ever endure what you went through. But you have to realize that that was not your fault. And sometimes things happen, and you can question God or you can question the world or whatever you want to do. That's fine. That's fair. But some things just I don't know. We don't have answers to. And
no, and stuff happens. I mean, you know, today you have said that you didn't sleep well and you're low energy, and that makes it even harder to deal with, you know, any of the difficulties of life that pop up
Mm-hmm.
just for an unfortunate circumstance of not getting enough sleep. And don't we all have those times when things just aren't going right? We don't feel well for some reason, or bigger stuff. Bigger pains happen. And when you and I talked previously, when we were first talking about doing the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and just the idea that life comes with a lot of painful times and a lot of painful circumstances, and there is nobody who doesn't get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has, painful circumstances or things that happen, and some people talk about them and some people don't, but it's common to all of us. And I applaud you for having a podcast that just kind of shines a light on the fact that that's life, that's part of what we all have to endure. And there isn't always a self-help to avoid it, because you can't avoid some of the pain of life.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I have learned is that kind of acknowledging that pain is always there allows me to grow in all sorts of interesting ways. Sometimes the pain is telling you something.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just pain that you have to go through. But it's always, I think, an opportunity for growth.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I told you I've kind of have like a decent following on social media, and as I grow, I constantly get people like, "Hey, man, like, how did you get this way? How'd you get so strong?" Because I've showed up on my lives where I'm depressed or have anxiety or my eyes are really bad that day or all the above, and I'm like, "Look, man, I'll be honest with you. It's been the last couple of years I've really just grown up. I've really, really healed. I really like there was a switch that flipped in my 30s. I'm 37, and there was a switch that flipped like where I was like 32, and I was like, okay, I'm officially an adult. Like there's no mistaking it. There's no more like I know that paying bills is the number one thing. There's no like I want to find love. All the things that I was thinking were mature, like just pure maturity. And I'm just like, yeah, man, like it you just got to go through some things, and it's hard to know when that's going to happen. There are people that mature really fast. There are people that mature really late. But for me, I've been through so much, and my life just kept going on, and it was really hard to ever get my feet steady and just place them to where I can get some ground and find some find some happiness. I just kept struggling, and then finally I just started doing whatever it was out of my comfort zone, and I started to make friends and work and do these things, and then all of a sudden you blink and you're like, hey, I'm a different person.
Oh, that's interesting that you say that. I love that you say that, because as in counseling, as in most therapy and in life, it's if you're uncomfortable with something, that's exactly where you need to be, because that's where all the growth is.
Yeah.
Like, and what you said, it's like I started doing uncomfortable things, but that's how you gain confidence. You don't gain confidence doing stuff that you're comfortable doing, because you already know you can do that. So that gaining confidence by doing uncomfortable things, doing things that make you anxious, is what helps us to grow and to really start grabbing on to all of the wonderful opportunities of life.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is this, so my philosophy of life, and I'm a very spiritual person, I look at this life on earth is the grand adventure that we choose to take so that we can grow. But the growth comes from hard experiences, because that's how you gain confidence. That's how you figure things out and realize what's really important, and realize that you can just kind of be along for the ride, or you can really dive in and fully live a big life. But you have to be uncomfortable. You have to be brave enough to be uncomfortable
Sure.
until you gain confidence.
Yeah, no, I was having this conversation with my friend on, she's got a disability herself, and she's got cerebral palsy, and we're just talking about moving out of her family's house, and and she starts like overthinking everything, like, and well, then I'm gonna have to do this. I don't know if I can do that. And I'm like, yeah, you sounded like me before I moved out. Like, I sat there and was like, well, who's gonna cook for me? How am I gonna get around? How am I gonna do this? I'm visually impaired. I don't drive, and I've been doing it for over 9 years now, or whatever. And I'm like, it comes to me so easily. Like, I would never want to live with my family again. I love my family, but it's like you have to
Yeah,
prove to yourself that you can do something. You have to, because
yeah,
your brain is going to constantly try to derail you and throw you off the scent and be like, but what about if all these things happen? Well, yeah, those things could happen, but you'll never know either way. So you got to just do it. I went through the whole, oh, who the hell is going to hire me? I have a disability. Then I got a job. Then I lost that job, and I was like, well, now who's going to hire me? And then I got another job, and then I got another job. And it's like, at some point you just go, okay, like, some point you got to start betting on yourself and start like realizing that, like, you can do it. It's just,
yeah. So, TJ, I'm gonna drop back into um, talking a little bit about the stuff that I'm really familiar with, which is kind of how our brain works, focusing on all of that stuff that's wrong that's
yeah,
in our life, like the things that are painful and the things that make us anxious and scare us and all of that. Um, it has a lot to do, and the reason I really research this and I write a kind of an explanation of it that I hope people understand, that we go through life and our memories are made up of the sensations that we have in our body and the story or the narrative that we put to that. And that becomes a memory, and we can store that. But there are a lot of things that that when we experience them are so uncomfortable that we can't stand to think about them. We don't think it through. We just shove it away as an uncomfortable experience that makes us anxious. And it doesn't get stored properly in our brain. It keeps popping up to drive us crazy. And the interesting thing is that, honestly, our brains and particular portions of our brain, the amygdala, is where a lot of these sensations are generated to begin with. Its purpose is to keep us safe. Its purpose is to keep us alive. And back in the time when everything around you, when you walked out of your cave, could possibly attack you and eat you, that's a really good thing to have happen, is to be on high alert all the time in case something is dangerous and could kill you or really harm you. And so it does things like it puts you on high alert. It may cause you to feelings of anxiety. It may cause your heart to start racing, or you to feel very jittery, to start breathing heavy, your eyes dilate. All of those kind of things that are uncomfortable sensations also have a purpose, like the your heart pumping quickly, breathing fast. Those are things to send blood and oxygen to your muscles so that you can either fight, or run away. And your eyes dilating is so that you can take in more of what you're looking at, and your ears being more highly attuned to every little noise. And those kind of things are actually things that keep popping up when you are struggling with post-traumatic stress disorder, because something bad has happened. You didn't store it properly because you couldn't stand to think about it. It was all too uncomfortable. And so these sensations, if you talked about your closet, those sensations keep popping out of your closet and really kind of driving you crazy, making you feel anxious all of the time. And when you talk about focusing on all of the things that could go wrong, it's the same that you're externalizing from just what could happen in my body. What are people going to do? Nobody's going to hire me. How am I going to get around? All of those kind of things are putting the focus on everything that could go wrong instead of putting the focus on possibility. And I say all of that because we're designed to think and react like that to keep us safe. But we over focus on all of the stuff to keep us safe.
Yeah.
And, and so it takes a lot of courage to step outside of your comfort zone and be uncomfortable, to take advantage of opportunities, because that's where the confidence starts building up. And once you start building up your confidence, how often are you doing new things now compared to what you were doing when you were holed up in your 20s going, I don't know how I'm going to live my life?
Yeah.
You know?
I even look at just how much more, confident I am, and how more outgoing I am, where it's like, I still am socially awkward at times, but when I go into a room, it's not like, oh my God, let me find the darkest corner and stay over there. Now I just walk in and, I might get a cringe moment or a tingle that's like, oh God. But for the most part, it's like, one of the things about me is that I being visually impaired, I like to throw people off the scent sometimes to have fun with it, because I match a lot of my outfits. I have colorful shoes and different things. And so I've kind of become known for that. But there was a period of time where I wouldn't wear pink shoes, or I wouldn't wear a bright yellow shirt, because I didn't want people to even, go, oh God, why is he wearing a yellow shirt? You're a man, or whatever, things that, who cares? Like, no one, why do I care what people think about what I wear, right? And for the most part, 99.9% of people don't care anyway. It's more in your head than anything.
Yeah.
But I notice now it's like, I really don't give a crap. Like, I could care less what people think of my outfits, or, I get compliments a lot, and I appreciate that, but I really don't care, because I had to just start doing stuff, and I had to just start going, you know what, I'm going to wear these pink shoes, and it's going to match my pink shirt, and you know what, maybe somebody won't like it, but maybe somebody will, and if either way, I got to be okay with it, because as long as I like it, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that when you said 99% of people don't care, you're right, but while 99% of people don't care what we're doing, there are a whole lot of us that are just so focused on thinking that people care about what we're doing.
Yeah.
If you said that, it's like, oh yeah, we're probably all really super self-centered.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes all it takes is that one person to say something, and that, like, you could get 100 compliments and get one person to be like, oh, those shoes are ugly, and for some reason that, or you're fat, that will stand with you. Like, it sticks with you. Like, so it's
right.
Yeah.
And in my case, and I think this happens to a lot of people too, I didn't need anybody to say anything because I was beating myself up. So in my own mind, I remember for a long time, it was mostly when I was going through, still I was in therapy, but I would be in meetings and things, and I'm pretty articulate and contributing in meetings, but then I would leave, and usually that night I would start ruminating on, oh, I talk too much, and I would beat myself up and be super, super anxious about how embarrassing it was to like take up space in the room, and what were people thinking? And I just did it to myself, and I am not sure how we get so caught up in beating up ourselves, but I think that I have a theory about it as a school counselor who worked with a lot of different levels of students, but I found that a lot of high achieving students would beat themselves up because every little correction that an adult would make in their lives, they would just take it to the nth degree in their aspirations to be perfect.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people beat themselves up. And I have had author talks where I see really accomplished people in the room when I'm talking about beating yourself up or berating yourself, and keeping it to yourself because you're embarrassed. And I just have to say that, and they all start shaking their head yes, like they all do it. And that stuff is toxic. That will make you more anxious and more miserable than anything.
Yeah, you go down the road that you're just never enough, and
you're never enough. But it also destroys connections when you won't reveal your true self to people, and you keep trying to be perfect. You're preventing yourself from connecting with people in an authentic way. You're not being vulnerable, and vulnerability is what creates connection.
Yeah. It's missing a lot, though, from the world. There's not a lot of vulnerability. It's a lot of bravado and a lot of, I don't know, there's not a lot of genuineness anymore in the world, it seems. I mean, there is, it's out there, but it seems like there's so many people are afraid, especially maybe even.
Well, yeah. We also have a ton of distractions to keep us from actually talking with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Even when you're hanging out with your friends, how often do you just sit around and talk? You do stuff together, but really sitting around and talking vulnerably is often done in, much smaller groups, and it is unusual and very special to do that in this day and age because we have so many distractions.
Yeah, way too many. So much smoke screen. It just keeps us all from really connecting and talking to each other and finding commonality, and just, I don't know. I always think about, and I don't do politics, but I always think about when any president gives a speech and half the room applauds like he said the greatest thing in the world, and the other half sits there and just scoffs and is like, oh, he didn't say a thing I agree with. And it's like the idea that you could 100% agree or 100% disagree with one person is just, it's not practical. So So it makes, and it's just, and that's one of those distractions where it's like everyone has to be the opposition. Like if you either agree or disagree with what I believe in, and if you disagree, then you're the enemy. And it's like, no, not necessarily. Sometimes I believe in this one thing because this suits my way of living. This helps my family. But that doesn't mean I want to get in the way of what affects your family. I'm just doing what's best for me. But
when you don't have those conversations, like people can lash out online because you're not sitting face to face with someone, and it's conversations where you actually listen to what's going on in people's lives and why they feel the way they do, and then in turn, not only get to respond when you fully understand someone, but in turn get to talk about your perspective. Those resonating conversations are so lovely, and they change us. But hiding behind hiding behind a device and just throwing out our own beliefs and perspectives without having that, why do you feel that way? I want to understand your life. I want to understand what's going on with you. I want to understand what's affecting your family. Without doing that, we're not learning anything. And that's why I was so interested in coming on your podcast, because I feel like this whole reality of pain in our lives is our opportunity to learn, because we all have pain.
Yep.
And as you said, it's not a self-help of how to avoid the pain or how to manage the pain. It's just the acknowledgement that there's pain in our lives. And I feel like that's our big opportunity to learn.
Yeah. No, I've learned
And
way
I don't.
more from the struggles than I have from any of the triumphs. Like,
Oh, me too.
yeah.
The absolute most painful, hardest time in my life is when I grew the most and really had the opportunity to be brave enough to do the uncomfortable stuff, which for me was actually just talking.
Yeah.
I was in a tremendous amount of emotional pain. I was suffering from major depression, and there was a period of time when I had a lot of suicidal ideation, and there were things that humiliated me that I was never going to talk about, which meant that therapy was very difficult because I was hiding stuff that I wasn't going to talk about, but that all affected me. And it wasn't until I realized that I was hurting myself, that's when things started changing, when I finally got brave enough to bite the bullet and talk about some of my humiliations. And that's a kind of a perfectionist thing. Like I grew up as a well-loved oldest daughter in a large family, and so I was kind of on a pedestal, and I always tried to do what was right and be helpful and show up and tried to be the perfect daughter. And so anything that I was embarrassed about that I had done, I was darn well going to try and hide, because that did not that would have knocked me off the pedestal, even in my own mind. And it took a long time to get past. It does take a long time to get past those ideas that you have of yourself or ways that you want to present yourself to the world.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, there's so
But
many.
man, that was painful.
Oh God, it hurts so bad. It really does. I remember even just seeing pictures of me when I was sick, and or just just thinking about, just opening those wounds and thinking about the things that have happened to me and all that, and I'm just reliving those moments, and I'm like,
Yeah,
oh God, this is so uncomfortable. I started getting anxiety. I started getting depressed, and I'm like, oh, this sucks. But once the storm passes, you're like, oh, let me try this again. And you do it again, you're like, it hurts a little, but it's not as bad. And then little by little, it
yeah,
just becomes a part of your story. And that's probably how you got a book and all these things, right? You just eventually, I don't want to say you get desensitized to it, but you smoothen it out, and you find a way
yes,
to cope with it and live with it, and realize like, okay, it's a part of my journey. And
yes,
it's not
yes.
a great part, but it's a part that made me learn the most, and It's a part of the reason why I am the way I am and who I am the way. So yeah.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why it's good to talk about it, and you're right. When I was sitting in therapy, so the difficulty with like really traumatic situations, difficulty of reopening, the the feelings that you had, like in my experience with the rape, and there was actually a date rape too, which was much more humiliating for me because I felt culpable. I had put myself in a situation that was dangerous,
Sure.
and that was humiliating for me. It was like, how could you be so stupid? You're never going to think about this. You're never going to talk about it. And when I got to that point where I was talking about it, some of it was really hard to talk about, but some stuff felt really good to talk about. The difficulty was all of the roadblocks I had internally, where I was beating myself up and I was anxious and I was wringing my hands all the time, and just all sorts of even physical sensations because I was so anxious. And that was the incredibly hard part, is dealing with myself, just trying to get myself to open up. But I also realized when I was in that situation, when I was in therapy, and I was sitting there going to myself, this is the hardest thing I've ever done, but I feel like I'm growing by leaps and bounds. Like, I just feel like I'm opening up, and I was. The other thing that was very interesting to me that only happened a few years ago, but it totally kind of was like an aha moment about pain, is I had a knee replacement done 3 years ago, and less than 3 years ago. That is extremely painful, and I don't want to talk about it anymore, but it's a very painful surgery, recovering from it. And just to say right away, if anybody's got any problems, that once you get through that painful period, it's so much better having done it. So I'll say that to begin with. But while I was in pain, right after the surgery, I was doing a pain meditation on. The guy had one on Headspace, and he said that when you have a part of you that's in pain, whether it's physical or emotional, for me at that moment it was my right knee, and all of your attention goes to that area that is painful. You're giving all of your attention to it. You're focusing in on it. And again, that is the way we're designed, to focus on what's wrong so that we don't miss anything, so that we keep ourselves safe. But it also makes it much more difficult to manage when that becomes a chronic kind of thing that we're doing. So he said, what you need to do is you need to intentionally find a part of your body that feels really good right now and focus on that part of your body. And I was like, it was like I didn't know any part of my body felt good at that moment. And so I started thinking about it, and there were some parts of my body that were very relaxed and felt very good. I was wrapped up in a warm, comfortable blanket. It was pretty cozy, other than my knee pain. And as soon as I started focusing on the part of me that felt really comfortable in that moment, my knee still hurt the same, but it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
And that was so interesting that I have done that since, not only with physical pain, but with emotional pain. When something is happening that is really getting to me and making me feel like I can't stand this, to take my focus off of that and put it on something positive, something that I'm pleased with or proud of or looking forward to. And it immediately removes that that hyper focus that's making it so unbearable. Yeah. So that was a real learning experience for me, and it's amazing how well it works.
Yeah, no, that definitely sounds like it works because I can relate to that. When I have something, I always say I'm a borderline hypochondriac, and when something's bothering me, whether it's my eyes or any part of my body, I hyper focus on it, and I'm just locked in on it. Every movement, every little thing about it, it makes every little creak. I'm like, up, that's getting worse. Yep. And then the rest of my body is just like, hey, we're over here. And you do like a body scan, you start checking for your body and you're like, yeah, everything over here is good. But it's hard because, your mind will tend to it'll stay in place and it'll lock on that one part of you.
Your mind wants to, and it's just the way we're made. Your mind wants to lock in on what's wrong, and you have to be very intentional to pull it away from that and focus on the other stuff that's going well.
Yeah.
And I think, again, that's a comfort. Well, it's a building confidence in doing that, because I think there are people out there that are accomplishing amazing things look at the Olympic athletes that are in the Winter Olympics right now, and the fact that it's so difficult that you have to gain an ability through practice to intentionally focus on where you want to go rather than on what hurts and what's wrong.
Yeah.
So the pain is still going to be there, but
got to turn it off.
But there's still a great life to live. Yeah.
Yeah. No pain, no game, as they say. So what was the inspiration for the book?
I had always wanted to write. I'm retired now, and I was explaining to a friend who was in a difficult relationship with someone who had a rape in their past and had never dealt with it. And I started explaining how insidiously that can affect the way that you relate to other people. And I had been explaining it to him because understanding that when I was in therapy, and I was in therapy for the whole time I was in graduate school, and I was for 3 to 4 years. So I was looking at all of it from both angles. I was researching PTSD and all of this stuff in the graduate library, and I was also sitting in my therapist's office going, wow, this is amazing. While I was struggling, I was also going, this is really amazing that this is how we respond and it's happening to me. Mm-hmm. So I got this really intimate look at what it's like to go through that, and I really understood it well. So I was explaining it to him, and then I took a writing workshop, and they, in a period of 5 days, had us actually hammer out the rough draft of the book. And what he said right to begin with is a lot of people want to write, but they don't know what to write about. He said, you need to write what you know. He said, for your first book, you should write what you know very well. And that was in the front of my mind because I had just been talking about it, which is really, why I wrote the book. But the other goal I had is I really operated as a companion for students who were in therapy for PTSD or needed to be in therapy, and their families, to explain what was going on, because it feels pretty crazy when you're struggling with symptoms of PTSD. And therapy it can be very hard. And so I was there when I had a student mostly who was struggling with some kind of trauma. We would try to get them into see a clinical social worker or a clinical psychologist. And still, all of the between times were very difficult. And so I would act as their companion. So my real goal had been to write a book that would be a companion for people who were going into therapy, to understand the parts of it and what's hard and why it is so important to stick with it, because that's the key. You can go for a little while and start feeling better, and a lot of people quit. But unless you stick with it and get through to the other side, you're not going to get to what you and I are both talking about, which is kind of that realization of what you need to do to live a healthier life. Yeah. Because life is hard, but you want to be able to respond in a way, and you have to go through a lot of discomfort to finally gain confidence in doing the healthiest stuff.
Well, you don't really know you really don't know how much you can actually handle until you break through that little ceiling there. Because it's like, I mean, I've been going through something here in the last 5 months, just health issue after health issue. And there was a point where I had to get back on my antidepressants, and I was on day 2 and I was breaking down. I was crying. I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I can't, because you get told, well, it takes about 6 weeks to kick in. And you're like, I don't have 45 days. I'm not going to make it. But at the same time, it's like you're looking up at these like endless steps, and you're like, okay, like what? I don't want to climb. I don't have the energy. And I can't see the top. But if you don't start climbing, if you don't start taking that first step forward, the steps are always going to look that way. And so at some point, you just got to keep moving and keep moving. And to some point, you can check back on your progress, and you go, okay, I still see endless steps. But then I look back on where I once was. I see that little dark spot way back down at the bottom of those steps. I could barely see it. That's where I once was. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be there. So I may still be going through it. I may still have a lot of climbing to do. But I know that I've made progress. I know I'm moving forward. I know that like just because I still have some anxiety when I wake up in the morning, it's not a 7 now. It's a 3. Or whatever.
Right.
Even if it's a 6, it's like, okay, we got a 7 down to a 6. Now maybe in a week it'll be a 5, and you just keep going. But a lot of people have that trouble taking that first step forward because it looks so daunting and overwhelming that it's like, I can't overcome that. And it's like, maybe not, but you'll never know. So start moving forward. Otherwise, you're just going to stay put and stagnant and get complacent, and you're never going to ever figure out what you truly are capable of. You have lowered your ceiling even for yourself.
Yeah, it reminds me when you say that, because that's a great visual. And I heard a story, and it was like in one of my very first grad classes. Another student in the room had a parent who in their 50s went back to medical school, which is, medical school is a huge undertaking. It's like 4 years of medical school, and then you have to do all of the residency and everything. And the parent had been going back and forth about whether he should do this. He was too old. He was getting close to, retirement age and stuff. But he'd always wanted to do it. And so he did. And what pushed him over was just the understanding that 5 years down the road, he could either be a doctor or he could still be standing there wishing. And so he took those little steps like what you're talking about, where you don't even feel like you can see the end, but somewhere in the future, you're going to be where you want to be, rather than still standing there anxiously wishing you had the courage to do something.
Yeah.
In little steps.
That's something I've been like telling myself here through all this. Like I've been trying these specialized contact lenses that can help my eyes, but it takes like a month or so before they fog up a lot because of the scar tissue on my cornea. And so it takes a while, but it's something that I've seen small bits of progress. But even though it's not what I want exactly, I'm like, I don't know. And and because I've been going through all these other health issues and just, but you have to remember where you started from, kind of going back to the steps analogy is like, you got to remember where you started from. And you got to remember that, for me, I was this abused kid. I didn't stop, I didn't start wiping my own behind until I was like 12 because I was so distraught and destroyed. And I had surgery after surgery and I went through so much trauma.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then my 20s, I dealt with it horribly. I finally came to terms that I had disabilities and I hated myself and I just envied everyone else because they had something didn't have, a girlfriend, eyes, whatever it was. And then I finally hit a point in my life where I'm like, man, I'm actually a pretty cool person. Like, yeah, I'm far from perfect, but I have a lot, like I'm a strong, beautiful person and I deserve way better than what I'm even feel that I'm capable of. I've listened to so much of the hate and the bullying and I'm just regurgitating all the things that people have said to me in the past and now but it's my voice saying it and it's way worse and I'm like I'm my biggest abuser. Like I have to stop this. And so now where I'm at in my life is I've taken some gambles. I've gotten, I have a stronger faith with God, but I also have a stronger bond with myself where I'm taking chances like, starting a job on TikTok where I got laid off my job and I was like, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to make this work, but I'm going to make this work and I'm going to do it by being a genuine person and just being kind to people. And somehow I'm going to find ways to pay my rent by doing it. And I did it. And it's still not perfect. And I still worry about all the what ifs and, how is this all going to work out? And oh my God. But, and in kind of getting back to like where I'm at right now with the health stuff, it's like, man, like, yeah, it's not perfect. It sucks at some days. Like today is not fun, but I've had some good days. Yesterday was a good day. And, there's a sign that there's still, I'm getting better and this is all going to add up to something. But I have to keep moving forward. And so kind of wrapping up what I was saying is like, I talked to my pastor the other day because I was like, hey, I have this question it's been bothering me. I was like, look, like I don't really know what to do. I'm like, I feel like the path I'm on is the right path. I'm doing the right thing, but every day it seems like it's the same day. And I'm getting bored of it and I'm getting frustrated with it. And I'm like, am I supposed to do something to get me to the next phase so that God can show me the next thing I'm supposed to do? Or am I supposed to stay put? And he said, and again, it doesn't matter if you're religious or not. He just said, stop focusing on where you're headed. Stop focusing on what you think God wants from you. Just focus on what you think God wants from you right now. And if you're doing that, so if you're being called to help people and be online and be vulnerable and share your story, if you're doing that, just keep doing that and the rest of it will figure itself out. And that to me meant a lot to me because I'm so focused. I'm always so worried about the future and how am I going to keep this going? And what if my health gets worse and all these things? And it's like, okay, if I can just continue to do what I'm doing right now, and try different things every now and then, but just keep on the path, keep moving forward. Sometimes it's like keeping, because like I said, the steps, you keep going up and all you see is more steps. You're like, look, I don't think this is ever going to end. I feel like I'm wasting my time. I should just go take this other set of staircases because look, there's a sign over there that says that there's some cool destination. There's some oasis over there, but that's really a lie, just to keep you from getting to where you really want to get to. And most of the places you want to get into this world, the things that you want the most, you are going to have to fight like hell to get it. And you're going to have to stay persistent and consistent. And you can't just deviate and just say, you know what, I'll come back to it. Sometimes maybe you missed your window. So stick with what you're doing. Stay strong. Stay fastened on who you are and just keep going in the direction that you're being called to.
Yeah. And I think you've said several things that I just really love. One of them is that you started to see yourself as you truly are, which is a magnificent human being. And I have to say that every single person out there that's listening is a magnificent human being. You know, you all being consciousness in these bodies and having the ability to love and doing the things that you do for other people, every person out there, that's magnificent. And you're right, we don't give ourselves credit. We are our own worst enemies. And for people just to realize how magnificent they truly are is amazing. And I love the fact that you are talking about being on different social medias and really just spreading the love, you know, because I don't know if there was a sign in the Super Bowl Bad Bunny halftime show at the end that said the only thing stronger than hate is love. And that is so true. And I think that is another one of our jobs on this earth, is to learn that it is love that is going to make changes. It's love that's going to get us to where we truly want to be. And every time that we behave in a loving manner, even when it's hard, things will be better.
Yeah.
Will be better.
Yeah, I mean that old adage of kindness is free. It's
And we have to be kind to ourselves.
For sure. Yeah. It's easier to be kinder to other people. Yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah.
But kindness is free.
Yeah.
And it's like I think one of the things I've learned here in the past year or so, like with doing this whole TikTok experiment that I've been doing, like I realized, because like I started gaining traction, started gaining followers and views on my videos, and I'm like, what? I'm not doing anything special. I'm talking about mental health. I'm talking about I've had a couple of videos I'm crying, or I'm really showing pain, and then people started to kind of tell me what I do for them, and it started to make sense. Where it's like, okay, sometimes it's just, man, if you're just kind to somebody, like, and I started thinking about like those who I've bumped into in the you know, out in the wild, you know, in your grocery store, your restaurant, you meet somebody and you're just like, even if you met them, you've known them for 8 seconds, that 8 seconds meant something to you because their energy was so good. They were kind to you, and they made you feel good about whatever it is. They weren't trying to sell you anything. They weren't trying to lie to you. They just were like, hi, oh yeah, the chip aisle is over there. But something about the way they said it to you is, oh man, thanks. Like, it made me feel good. It made me feel like, oh, you're friendly, and I know we live in the same universe. So you're not sad. And maybe you have sadnesses, and you know, there's things in your life that you're sad about, but right now you're choosing to be happy and positive. And it's like, I think about that with my own community, and with what I do with my advocacy and things. It's like, I choose to not be a victim. I choose to not just say, oh, I'm a poor little disabled person, or I choose to just be strong and just say, hey man, like, come into my life. Like, I'll have people come in, they'll ask me, like, you know, I get a bunch of rude questions and all kind of nonsense. So, you know, why do your eyes look that way? Whatever. But I also get a lot of questions like, hey, what do you think about ICE? Or what do you think about Trump? Or all these things? Or, you know, what do you think about black people? Or whatever. And I go, dude, none of that is relevant to me. Like, I have a vision problem, and I could zoom in and see what you look like. That's if you even have a real picture. But I truly don't care if you believe in God. I don't care if you're black. I don't care if you're gay. I don't care about any of these things. If you're a cool person, you're a friendly person, you're welcome in my world. That's all I ask. Just be cool, respectful, being friendly, you know, be silly. Let's just have a good time together. But all that other stuff, those are labels. Those are things that are inconsequential to me. I don't care about any of them. So if you're one of those people, then please just move on, because I'm not here to be like, hey, I don't ask people, hey, what's your ethnicity? Doesn't matter to me. I truly don't care. And it's just like, sometimes you just got to realize, like, the thing that you have is maybe it's just being kind and just being real and being genuine. Because I say a lot of things that now that people are just like, wow, you said that like so matter of factly. And it's like, yeah, man, and it's kind of going back to what we were saying. It's like I could talk about my trauma, I could talk about my pain because I know I can use it. As they say, turn your mess into a message. Like I've learned how to use what I have gone through, and I've used it so I can help other people. Is it always flattering? Is some of it embarrassing? Is some of it really dark and sad? Yeah, but if I can help somebody out there who went through the same thing or went through something similar, and they're just like, oh man, I'm not alone. I did my job. So, yeah.
So I have to ask you, TJ, do you feel better when you are being vulnerable and knowing that you are connecting with people? Does that help you in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Anyway, I can help people, but yes, being vulnerable for sure. I've pushed the boundaries of my vulnerability.
Right, because being vulnerable is hard, but being vulnerable not only helps other people, but it helps you too.
For sure.
And it's like it requires bravery to be vulnerable. And I always, like when I really thought this through, I started understanding, like when you look at things militarily, like a platoon wants to make sure they protect all sides, because if they leave a side open, if a side is vulnerable, it's open to attack.
Yeah.
So you can understand why, people keep things close to the vest. They don't talk about things that they may be embarrassed about, that maybe they did or anything, because that vulnerability, it feels like you could be open to attack. And I do think that it's helpful to be discerning about who you are being vulnerable with in a personal situation. But that vulnerability also helps us connect with people, and it makes them feel better, and it makes us feel better, because that's where love sits.
Well, I've even said even some of my videos where I'm like, look, man, when I talk to you guys, I'm also talking to myself sometimes. This message is also because I need to reiterate some of the things that I got to remember. Like, I have friends will be like, well, you should just watch your own videos, take your own advice.
Yeah.
I remember I did a video where I took my shirt off and I wanted to show the scars from the disease I had. And, and I did that. I was uncomfortable, but I did it because I know a lot of people deal with, their bodies and their insecurities. But I was also doing it for myself, to push myself to the next level of my vulnerability. I'm like, wow, am I really going to do this right now? Well, shit, I guess I'm doing it. And I was doing it for myself. I was doing it for anybody that it could help. And that stuff like that always sits with me now, because I'm like, I can't even believe I did that still. And it didn't matter if it got a couple thousand views or a million views or whatever. It's just like people watched it, and some people got it. And like I said, for me, it's, but there is a part of it that's like, absolutely, like I get something out of this, because it helps me to heal. It helps me to be more comfortable with who I am, to where now it's like I can be on live and there's 100 people on my live, and there's people making fun of me, there's people loving me, there's people whatever, and I'm being my silly self. I'm enjoying life, and I'm not thrown off by anything. I'm just confident in who I am, and I'm like, this is not a TJ I thought could ever happen. I never thought this person could ever, be formed. I thought this person was just some fantasy. And I'm far from where I want to be, but I'm like, oh my God, this, I'm also so far from where I was too. And I'm like, my God, like, that's why I think one of the things I started saying is like, I stopped focusing on, oh man, I'm in fourth place and I'm not in first. And I started realizing how many people would love to be in fourth place. Like, how many people would love to be where I am? Yeah, they might not want to go through all the things I'm going through, but they would love to have a place to stay. They would love to have a job. They would love to have friends. They would love to still have a 94-year-old grandma around and things like that, right? And so I started to find ways to be more grateful, because I know that my life is hard, but I also know that there are a lot of things that make up my life that are awesome. And so to see this.
And gratitude is the same as everything else that you focus on. You can either focus on what's good and be grateful, or you can focus on what's not good and be resentful.
Yeah.
And living my life in gratitude is so much more joyful than being resentful.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
I heard this. I listened to a podcast, and they were talking. It was a wrestling podcast, but they were talking about this Make-A-Wish kid that came, and he was 11. He had a couple weeks to live, and his parents were crying or whatever, and he told them, "Stop it. We're not crying." He says, I don't have a lot of time left. I'm going to spend the rest of my time here being happy." And I'm like, my God, like he's 11. He's got 2 weeks to live. And this kid is showing more strength than everybody on this planet. And it's like,
Yeah.
and it just makes you grateful because he knows that and he's 11. I didn't know
Yeah.
that when I was 11. I was a dumb 11-year-old. But he understood that. He understands how precious life truly is because we only get one shot at this. And there's way more people in the ground right now than, and it's like this kid understands that, he only gets, I mean, obviously you understand why his parents are crying, but at the same time,
Yeah.
it's like this kid is just so strong, so powerful because he just wants to be happy. He's just happy that he's at this wrestling convention. He gets to see his favorite wrestlers. It ain't about tomorrow. It's not about in probably a couple hours where he's going to be in bed coughing and sick. He's like, right now I'm in heaven. I am in the best place I could possibly be. Life can't get any worse or any better. Today I'm living in the moment. And that's
Yep.
something so many of us struggle with because it's like, man, when you're going through it, like especially like how I have, and it's really hard to see the bright side. It's hard to see that positive side where it's like, dude, 5 months in a row I've been having trouble sleeping and my eyes are bad and anxiety and depression and all these things. It's hard to see like how beautiful life truly is. And that's why I think I've turned off so many of the news apps on my phone because I just got tired of seeing mass shootings and ICE and just all the shit going on in this world where I'm like, oh my God, this is so depressing. I need to breathe.
Yeah.
This is, it's isolating and it's heavy and and so, I mean, and I tell people all the time, a lot of this stuff like life is what you make of it. And you could easily sit around and feel sorry for yourself. And you could be like, oh, I'm a poor little addict. I'm a poor little disabled person. I'm a poor little homeless person, whatever. And again, we all do it. We all have felt sorry for ourselves at one point or another, maybe even recently. But you have to get rid of that. You have to start finding ways to move forward. And you have to deal with the past. You have to deal with the now so that you can move forward. But if you're constantly always looking ahead or looking behind, there's no progress. You're going to stay still. And it just, a lot of it is just love yourself first. Like, love yourself. You'll realize, like, how many of the things that you have put up with in your life, all the people you've allowed into your life, or all the people you've allowed to get over on you, you allowed that, you're a kind person, but don't let that be a weakness, man. Your happiness is paramount. Your happiness matters over anyone. If you want to be a good mom, a good friend, a good coworker, you need to be happy, and so take care of that. So it's like I said.
Yeah, it makes me think about. I fly a lot, and it makes me think about every time on the plane, the flight attendants will do the little spiel at the beginning, and they'll show you how to put on your oxygen mask, and they always say, if you are flying with a child or somebody you're taking care of, put your own mask on first, because you have to be able to breathe if you're going to help them. So you have to take care of yourself first. You have to keep yourself in good stead if you're going to take care of other people.
Yeah. That's why I've been kind of in survival mode the last couple months, and I'm doing this to take care of myself. I've put so many things on hold. I'm still showing up for certain people, or I'm showing up for my TikTok lives and things, but for the most part, I'm just trying to get through each day, and I do a couple things each day where it's like, okay, I need to do my dishes, I need to do my cat's litter. All right, those are the two things I'm going to do. And then the rest of it is just the bare minimum, eating whatever, just till I get to the medication fully kicks in. Like, I'm just doing what I got to do because I know if I'm not happy, if I'm depressed or I'm not sleeping or whatever, I know I'm going to be miserable, and I can't be the best person for all the people who need me to be the best person, best version of
Yeah.
myself. So I have to take care of me no matter how long it takes.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, I know. But it's okay. I mean, like I
I
said.
can understand why a lot of people follow you, TJ.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Very encouraging.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I mean, I have my days. Like I've had days where I'm just like, am I dying? Like why don't I give up? For me, it's about being as real and as genuine as possible. And maybe sometimes I'm too real because I say things that, maybe are scary or whatever, but it's never to be like, hey guys, this is a call for help. I want to die. It's just, I'm going to tell you when I really feel something. And I think there's too many people in the world that are in the dark right now, and they want to know how the hell to get out of it. And sugarcoating and again, you could sugarcoat. There's some people there are people for that, but I think there's a huge portion of us who just want to hear what's real and what's really going on, what's really happening. And in relation to like mental health and trauma and abuse, sexual, mental, all that, they just want to hear that someone out there understands and gets it.
You know what? If you can say it on a podcast, maybe they can say it to a friend.
Sure. Yeah. Or they can say it to their mom, or, they can say it
to somebody. It makes a difference. Yeah, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I'm,
You make a difference.
I appreciate
you. Do.
You. Thank you. And I'm sure you're doing the same thing. I'm just trying to do what I've been called to do. I'm trying to do what I'm passionate about. It. I've always been asked, what do you want to do with your life? And I just said, like, I just want to help people. I don't even entirely know what the hell that meant ever. I still kind of don't, but now I'm getting it. And I just want to help people. And I'm not, I realize I thought my people were just people with disabilities or people with visual impairment, but it's anybody who's ever been through anything. I can relate to anybody who's an addict or, somebody who's been through domestic violence or homelessness. Or what. I can relate to anybody. There's parallels in every story, but you have to be very empathetic, and you have to be very understanding. And I've interviewed a guy who was in prison, and we related so much. And I've never been in prison. I'd never committed like a real crime, but he and I related in so many ways because he talked about how, him being in jail is like having a disability. And I talked about how having mental health and struggling, felt like I couldn't leave my house and that I was imprisoned in my own world. And just, there was so many parallels. But if you judge people and you immediately say something is different, you're going to just write it off and you're never going to get to understand it. And I think for me, like I don't preach to people. I don't tell people to do as I do. I'm just telling you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it honestly. I'm not saying what I do is going to work for you. I don't know. Because again, like you said earlier, there's no blueprint for this, right? So I don't know how you deal with your trauma. I don't know how you deal with your disabilities or your pain or your abuse. I don't know. But I can tell you how I did it. And I can give you some advice, but you take it or leave it. But at the end of the day, I'm not telling you have to do it, because what works for me may not work for you and vice versa. So just love yourself, man, and just try your best to be the best person you can be every day, even if most days you fall short, because you're going through it, man. Like and because you're taking one step at a time, and it's a long ladder of life. Yeah. And it's hard to take that first step, but once you do, it's worth it. But you have to. But if you think of the steps as your life, then why not take a step? Yeah. You're going to be it tomorrow and the next day and the next day. The question is, are you going to be on the third or fourth step up, or are you still going to be standing on the bottom? Yeah. I mean, you may see a sign going by while you're walking up the side. You might see a sign that says your destination is in 3 million steps. But before it said 10 billion or whatever it was, So it's like you're still far away, but you're also closer. And or maybe your destination is much closer than you possibly can imagine. It's just, like I realized with doing TikTok, I know I could put out one video and all of a sudden be discovered by somebody who's just like, hey, I would love to sign you or hire you for this. right? It's all it
Yeah.
takes nowadays. That's the world we live in.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it. Or
Yep.
you just help somebody. You just help some random person online, but you didn't realize they were some celebrity's son or something. You know, like you have no
Yeah.
idea what you did because you don't know your impact. You don't know all the people that comment on your videos and like, or the people who watch from in the shadows who just don't even have the confidence to like your video, but you help them
Right.
immensely, and that's why it's like, you know, when I did a video talking about suicide, and it's like, yeah, man, the reason why I never, I'm far from my suicide attempt and why I don't want to kill myself anymore is because I know, man, I mean something in this world. I know I have value. I know I'm loved, and I don't know how loved I am. I don't know how much I mean to people. I know how I mean to some, but I don't know all those. I have 40 some thousand followers. I don't know how many of them genuinely need my videos every day. And even if it's a couple, that's still more than more than any of the friends I ever used to actually have when I was at my loneliest. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any real value. I was just hanging on to life and hating myself and shameful. And, then I wanted to kill myself because I feel like I didn't have any value. The only reason I didn't do it is because my mom and grandma meant something to me. That I loved them. I didn't want them to find me. But
Yeah.
now I have both of them. I even got a relationship with my dad after 25 years. I have so many friends, and I meet people like you all the time. And it's just like, you don't know if somebody sees you in the obituary, or they see an article online and they see you're dead, and you don't realize that you might have bumped into somebody at the grocery store one day and they never talked to you, but they saw that you were struggling, but you were still smiling and you made them feel good about their life. And then all of a sudden they see you in the paper and they go, oh, if that person can't make it, I can't make it. So I'm out of here too. And I never want to be, and again, you can't control that. But at the same time, like, I never want to be the reason why someone's not here, because I was controlled by a lot of things, and I was off the rails, and I didn't love myself. I didn't love life. And it could have taken any negative interaction with one person that could have set me off, to just never being here again. And,
Yeah.
for me, I know I have a voice now, and that's very important. And
Yeah.
you use it wisely. Social media is a really screwed up place, but if you know how to use it properly, you can make a huge impact in this world. But you got to use it wisely. And so as far as I know, my oldest follower is 77 and my youngest follower is 11. Like,
Wow.
and that's what I know. There might be older, might be younger, but that's
Yeah.
a huge gap there. And there's a whole bunch of people in between that. And it's like, man, like, I act silly. I say a bunch of goofy stuff too, but I realize, man, there's a lot of people that just genuinely want to see me win and believe in me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, man, I can't let them down. And I
Yeah.
damn sure can't kill myself. I damn sure can't sit around and feel sorry for myself, because there's a lot of people would hate that. It would affect them. And so I just keep pushing no matter how hard it
Yeah.
gets. But yeah, man.
Well, TJ, we've covered a lot.
We have, yes. And you asked me before, like, hey, how am I going to bring any value to your show? Well, I think you found out now.
Well, it's been wonderful talking with you.
Same here, and I hope we can stay in touch and be friends. And
I'm gonna be following you, because I think that your show can be a light for a lot of people.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. And like I said, I really do appreciate your openness and just having the conversation, man. There's a lot of people that don't even want to have these conversations because they're too scary, or they're worried about what people think of them. And obviously we're at stages in our life where it's like, who cares? But it took us a while to get here too. And
yeah, well, this is the adventure. This is the adventure of life on Earth, and sometimes it's a thriller.
Yes, it is. Oh boy, is it ever. It is. Well, I appreciate you coming on. You want to share the name of your book again?
Yes, it's Braving Therapy. That's like brave, but braving therapy. Rape, buried trauma, and the triumphant journey over PTSD.
Where can they get it?
You can get it on Amazon. You can order it from any bookstore. And it's in some libraries. Trying to think if there's any place else. I think that pretty much covers it. It's on Kindle.
Okay, I'll get a link from Podmatch when I put the episode out. Eventually, I'll put all that in there for you.
Okay.
But yeah, thank you again. I really appreciate it, and please just take care of yourself. And if you need anyone to talk to or anything, I'm always around.
Well, terrific. Thank you.
Yep. You take care of yourself.
Get some rest.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, guys. I'm sorry for my low energy. I think we did a good job here. We fought through it, but yeah, man, life has been pretty hectic lately. I had a pretty good day yesterday, but man, I don't know. I'll do an update episode here shortly. I'm just trying to get through these scleral lenses and trying to see what they can actually do for me. These specialized contact lenses I got in. I have it in now, but it's so fogged up, it's hard to see. But man, it sucks. But it's for a good cause. It's for a good reason. It's all going to end up all right. But you got to keep believing that, keep pushing yourself, because it's so easy to turn back around and go, never mind. I can't do this. I'm done. I give up. And I just can't. I can't. Too much riding on it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I'll see you guys next week. I love you guys, man. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy. And yeah, man. Love you guys.